So, you find yourself on the UnrealEntGaming channel. How fortunate for you. I, Lord Frieza, will spare your life as long as you subscribe and turn on notifications. Also, don't forget to become a member of UnrealEntGaming's Patreon for tons of exclusive content, to early access media, and much more. Do it now, or else.
Now, although with everyone's training having to intensify more and more with each passing moment, I can't help but begin to wonder on just how exactly the realm of the gods is going to respond to Vegeta's presence, especially now that he is about to submerge himself into being judged by that very same realm.
Our story now continues following the initial training events involving both Goten, Trunks, and Piccolo on the Supreme Kai homeworld, following the Elder Kai having to awaken Goten and Trunks' potential on top of having to go and merge that with their already integrated Super Saiyan God powers, to which it was only just upon with Orange Piccolo being shown having to battle against both Ultimate Super Saiyan God Goten and Ultimate Super Saiyan God Trunks was when the Supreme Kai went on to then grab onto the Elder Kai by then responding, "Ancestor, please, you've got to go and listen and move away from the battlefield, for it isn't safe for you to be within harm's way while they battle out there like this, and so I'll need for you to go and come with me while you can." To which, of course, this was solely on the shoulders of Goten and Trunks prior to having to disturb the Elder Kai after having to awaken their powers, was when the Elder Kai went on to then quickly respond, "Let go of me, Kai, for I ought to go and teach those numbskulls some respect after doing what they just did, and so let go of me! For that, Piccolo better go and beat some sense into those two rotten teenagers and instill some respect within them before I do," the Elder Kai continues, "because if I were to go and get my hands on them, then it'll be over," with the Supreme Kai responding, "Oh, you're just being ridiculous here, Ancestor, and just what exactly would you go and hope to accomplish here if I were to be reckless enough in having to let you go out there?" the Supreme Kai questions. "It's just crazy, Ancestor, and with how powerful the boys have become alongside with how freakishly powerful Piccolo had become since obtaining that orange form of his when he first did, then I would say for the time being, your best bet is to go and stay here with me until this is over, because otherwise, if you don't decide to go and listen to what it is that I say by keeping you here," the Supreme Kai continues, "then the chances of having something go and happen to you, even if it's not meant to be directed towards you specifically, would simply be too great and too dangerous to risk," the Supreme Kai says. But moreover, during this time, as Goten and Trunks were then preparing and having to unleash several energy attacks directed towards Orange Piccolo after Orange Piccolo was shown in having to power up, was when Ultimate Super Saiyan God Trunks went on to then respond, "Oh, quickly now, Goten, let's go and channel our energy together by blasting him with endless energy waves before he goes on to notice, and let's try to make this fast because he isn't showing any signs of slowing down here against us either, and so we'll need to go and hit him right now while we still can," to which, as Trunks and Goten were shown doing exactly that, was when Goten went on to then quickly respond, "Right then, and so let's hurry and see on how much damage we can go and do onto him before he goes and tries to do whatever he just did against us out here again," to which, of course, Goten and Trunks were not shown in having to waste any time whatsoever, because with Goten and Trunks being shown in having to continuously blast Orange Piccolo with countless energy waves, was when Trunks went on to then quickly respond, "Oh, I don't think that this is doing much of anything and directly having any sort of effect out here against him, Goten, and so any idea on what we're gonna go and try to use out there against him?" with Goten responding, "Well, no, but whatever it is that we end up in having to go and do here, we can't stop blasting him until he either collapses from exhaustion, or if he ends up in quitting all together, to which as Piccolo was then shown in having to smile was when Piccolo went on to then quickly respond, "Now this is more like it, but since you both seem to still have a very long way to go before either one of you are to go and be considered as true rivals to both myself along with your fathers, since you are both far stronger than how you were and are miles ahead from where it was that I had seen you both after dealing with Frieza and his brother when your fathers had arrived in dealing with the both of them, you better not go and let that power of yours get to your heads while you're out here against me," Orange Piccolo shouts, "because if you simply aren't going to be good enough in having to go and hold your own against me just like your fathers would," Piccolo shouts, "then you better go and pull yourselves together out here against me, because I won't be giving you second chances, as you should both already be made very well aware of by now, and since neither one of you appear to have what it takes to go and stand up against me as you are all on your own, then it'll only be a matter of a short time before I am to go and beat that god power out of both of you," with Trunks responding, "And that's where you're wrong, Piccolo, because with all due respect to you and everything that it was that you had done to reach this point to where you are with your power now," Trunks adds, "and if there is one thing that you should have already known about by now, it's that no matter how many times you go and try, and no matter how hard you go and attempt to go and try to break us apart when we're alone, you should have went and thought twice than to go and take your eyes off of the both of us when you did, and since we only have about a few seconds left in order for us to go and finally put an end to this battle here against them once and for all," Trunks adds, "then I'll need for you to watch my back while I go and see if I can figure out of some kind of a weakness for us to exploit before it's too—" "Wait, now hold on for just a minute there before you decide to go right after him again," Trunks Goten then went on to quickly shout, "for this doesn't look to be the case where we can go and afford to make any more mistakes when battling against him, and since I think that we ought to go and restructure our approach before attacking him," Goten continues, "we should hold off on going and trying to attack him separately for the time being, because fighting him as individuals will only guarantee our defeat if we aren't careful enough to attack him at the exact same time. And so what do you think that we should go and try to use against him next? Because with all things considered here," Goten continues, "while our durability from the amalgamation might go and allow for us to survive for the time being, we'll need to go and form some kind of a counterattack and fast if we hope to actually go and beat him by the time this is all over and done with. And so any ideas on what you want to go and try here, Trunks?" "Well, even though it's not looking too good out there against him while we're here," Trunks went on to then quickly respond, "from what you and I can already go and tell based on what it is that we have gone through here against him so far, it would seem as though our durability from the Rituals merger has allowed for us to adapt and survive this long here against him, which is a big thing when considering on how we wouldn't have been able to go and match him before our current evolution, and so we'll need to go and strike with more combos now before we go and resort into having to go and use fusion to beat him. And so let's go and keep our ears to the ground at all times while we do this, Goten, as we'll be going and attacking him together because it's the only chance that we have at winning here," with Piccolo responding, "So I see that not only have the two of you grown to become far more powerful and difficult to deal with than I imagined for the both of you to be when given all that it is that I know about you both, since the two of you appear to operate far more effectively when having to go and attack your opponent together rather than how you are when stuck and having to face them in battle alone. Then while we continue to go and push your fusion off to the side for the time being," Piccolo continues, "then what do you say we go and continue to fight the way that we have been before we are to go and take our leave back to Earth, as I would like to go and try something since the three of us are already here," Piccolo says, to which all the while in the meantime, when then having to go back within the realm of the gods and having to oversee Beerus, Multiverse Prime, and of course Vegeta now having to step forward and just about to enter into the waters of judgment, was when Multiverse Prime went on to then quickly respond, "And so now that you are made fully well aware of the stakes that await you, while also coming to fully understand on what your rewards will be that await for you if you are to find yourself in returning back to us in one piece rather than being swallowed by the shallows below, you may proceed by stepping on forward and entering onto the foundation by crossing over and awaiting for my command," Multiverse Prime responds, "but understand, as I want for you to know, that this won't be for the faint of heart here either, as you won't be given a second chance if something were to go and suddenly happen to you down there either," Multiverse says, "for you will go and be given one chance and one chance only in order for you to go and do this, and so you ought to make with what you have and cherish it while you can, because once you are down there, the only way that you will resurface is if the realm of the gods is to accept and approve of you, Vegeta. And so now relax your mind while I lower your vessel beneath the waves below you, mortal, so remember what you have learned and allow for Beerus's teachings to guide you when submerged below, for you shouldn't go and allow for this to get to you, Vegeta, for only through your unwavering commitment and obsession towards wanting to obtain the highest level level of power imaginable under the official order of Destroyer will you ever go and be truly capable of reaching your ultimate goals, Saiyan. Well, I trust that Vegeta will know on what to do if he goes and finds himself within a dire situation while submerged beneath the very depths of those waters below. Beerus went on to then chime in, but the sense of curiosity had now seemed to have piqued my interest here, because how are we to know exactly on if this will work or not, Venerable Prime? With Multis responding, there is but only one other way that we will be able to go and know for sure, and while we wait to see on if your student is truly worthy on coexisting alongside the rest of us, as I demand to know on why you had went and brought him here to train, along with what it is that this supposed tournament that you speak of is really all about, so you better start talking, Beerus, and don't even attempt to go and try to lie to me here either, Multis says. To which it was only all the while in the meantime, when then having to submerge ourselves in taking a look at Vegeta and seeing as to what he was doing down within the depths below, was when Vegeta had overseen many entities now beginning to surround him beneath these very waters, with Vegeta then having to then quickly say to himself, so this is what lies beneath the surface, as I had suspected to have felt the presence of others before submerging myself beneath these very waters, but how very unsettling it is to know that it doesn't appear as though I am alone down here, Vegeta continues, for the water itself almost feels as though it's a living entity all on its very own while here, but I mustn't go and waste any more time while I'm down here either, for this heavy sensation that I sense when looking back at these very piercing eyes that are staring back at me from the void almost feels a little eerily familiar in a very strange way, Vegeta went on to then continue, almost as if they feel as though they are the former kindred spirits of the gods who ruled over these worlds before us, who happen to have once existed long before the ones whom rule over the Omniverse today, but within this mass of insidious and mysterious energies that I'm sensing, Vegeta continues, there appears to be one energy signature that feels dangerously similar with my very own, as well as having it also feel far more complicated than I would have ever anticipated for this to go and be, in allowing for almost every moment to feel like a desperate battle for survival, and I want to know on why that is and why I am able to sense my presence within these waters from where I am, despite in having me just go and enter within it. And so now what exactly am I looking for and sent here to go and do? Because from the looks of it, based on what I can see and based on what I can sense, whatever that energy signature was that felt eerily enough like my very own is now looking as though it's circling its way back around from afar, for the pressure that I feel that is starting to now weigh me down beneath these very waters is both unimaginable and critical beyond one's very own comprehension, for these waters appear to be complicating everything to an extreme degree and amplifying the physical toll of the weight that I feel beneath these very waters, Vegeta continues, but it also looks as though the energy which appeared to resemble my own is finally starting to approach me, Vegeta adds. Yes, and now that I am able to go and see this entity up close and for myself to go and examine, I can't help but begin to wonder on why this entity appears to be devoid of all life when I try to search its feelings from deep within, for could this be the direct result of perhaps the evil that once lingered within my very heart in having it be made whole again, Vegeta questions, or is this perhaps something more that I am just not able to fully understand yet, Vegeta continues, as strangely enough I can feel as though whatever this is appears to not only be calling for me as it requires for my touch in order for it to have purpose again, and I find this sensation to be quite the different one, as I am prepared for the consequences that wait ahead, as I am ready to go and embrace whatever waits for me, Vegeta says, because not only do I vow to never again allow for myself to ever be led down the path of mediocrity by falling behind in power like how I was shown in having to do many times once before, but with this upcoming tournament having to also ensure in having it be a spectacle that'll be truly worthy in showcasing the strongest warriors throughout the annals of history, with only one emerging as its sole and absolute winner when this is all over, and it'll be I who will walk away from this Omniversal tournament as its undisputed winner by the end, and for that to happen, Vegeta continues, then I am willing to go and do whatever it will take if it means in having me accomplish my goals, Vegeta continues, and now that I know without a shadow of a doubt on what my destiny is meant to be, Vegeta continues, especially after having to go and meet with that Elder Sage and having him mention something about my next evolution having to be achieved through the sudden moment of when death finally reaches me, and I am ready to go and accept this offering by a way of death if needed, so that I may go and achieve a power that no mortal warrior had ever lived to see throughout their lifetime, and if this ultimately means that I will need to undergo many more rituals and even come face to face with death itself, myself so that the gods of the highest order may finally go and accept me as I begin my transcendence, then so be it, because I'm ready. To which it was only within this very moment back up on the surface when then having to take a look and seeing as to what Beerus and Ricardi were up to as Ricardi went on to then mock Beerus continuously was when Ricardi went on to then address Beerus by responding, "You know, Beerus, I've got to go and give it to you here on this one, because if this wasn't the most underwhelming ritual that I have ever witnessed in my entire time as a god of destruction, then I don't know what is, because just look at him, he's dead." Just as we had expected for him to end up in having to be, and so it's almost comical in a way. However, Beerus, perhaps it's time that you finally go and consider retirement here, Ricardi continues, because these endless naps of yours are clearly starting to affect your judgment, and since it clearly seems like you are unfit to govern, then you should simply go and save yourself the embarrassment and just hand over Universe 7 to a more fitting and cunning destroyer like myself as its overseer. Of course, being that I've always had my eye on ruling over Universe 7 before you were appointed as its current destroyer due to its untapped potential for chaos and mischief, then so why don't you just go and admit that you have failed as a god along with failing to find a successor that would truly go on to succeed you, and just hand over your operations to me instead. Come on, Beerus, you know you want to, with Multis Prime having to then chime in, and I wouldn't be so sure of yourself to go and make such assumptions about the Saiyan if I were you here, Ricardi, because even though while Beerus may have went and had spent his days just sleeping around and eating everything within his sights that he hadn't already taken interest in, Beerus's student here, on the other hand, does not appear as though he had undergone the same level of contempt that many of you destroyers are often plagued with, Multis continues, and while this doesn't appear to be the case with Vegeta since the signs appear to all point in the opposite direction, I want for you to go and take a closer look, Multis continues, so that you can begin to go and understand on why Beerus had selected this mortal in serving to become his student, Ricardi, as you should be wise enough to go and search with your soul rather than just trust with what it is that you see with your eyes, because the result of this mortal's transgressions and what it is that he seeks to go and accomplish during this time when training with Lord Beerus should be very much more than obvious to the both of you right now, to which as Beerus went on to then oversee Vegeta emerging from the depths below was when Beerus went on to then quickly respond, "So then if what you say is to be true in regards to what is about to go and happen with Vegeta, then surely this would mean that his fate within our realm has now officially concluded with some kind of a positive determination then, would it not, Venerable Prime?" With Multis Prime responding, "But of course, for it would seem as though not only do we now appear to have our answer on seeing if whether or not Vegeta is truly worthy of coexisting within our sacred realm as an anointed destroyer by the trials of judgment in which he currently faces and seems to have now completed, but on top of it all, Multis Prime continues, his nature now appears to be fully embraced and accepted by the waters of our ancestors, and so I would like to hereby go and congratulate you with the full weight of my authority, Vegeta, for not only are you the first ever mortal Saiyan to ever go and survive and succeed within the waters of our judgment and emerge through its acceptance as an equal, but because you are hereby now an official god by title, Multis continues, with an unofficial status of having to rule over any particular universe, given that you directly come and train under my son Beerus within Universe 7, until or unless Lord Beerus were to go and retire or appoint you into some kind of a leading position in taking over as a direct overseer, then given with the circumstances of your acceptance and newly given status as being a destroyer, you will not only now be given the full and unrestricted entry within our realm's hidden archives of forbidden techniques reserved for proteges such as yourself to go and study and ultimately utilize, Multis Prime continues, but you will now be able to also create a personal nexus chamber of your very own, similar to the training chamber that I found you within, that will allow for adjustable destroyer simulation training from within, and thus having to allow for this to not only be a personal sanctuary of sorts for you to go and train within, Multis Prime continues, but with the seal of approval by our realm through its very creation of your newly forged and appointed destroyer's outfit now having to be given onto you, then not only does this affirm your legitimacy in granting you safe passage between our worlds whenever you just so choose to want to go and return again, but depending on where you will stand among our ranks when compared to the other gods of destruction, then if you are favorable enough in having to prove your worth by standing above certain gods in the aspects of power during your omniversal training with Lord Beerus, then as a result you will go and be granted the ability to go and command lesser and unattended destroyers such as minor attendants that dwell within these very chambers, Multis continues, continues, along with being able to go and influence their direction and thus positioning you as more of a superior peer to Beerus and his system of destroyers, for example, rather than simply having to go and be an apprentice instead. As a very aggravated Ricardi then went on to quickly say to himself, "Oh, this is unbelievable. A peer, they claim, with me of all gods, and now having to be forced to share this sacred realm with the likes of some barbarian such as him makes me utterly sick to my stomach to even have to go and listen to. And why? Because he's Beerus's underling," Ricardi went on to then say to himself. "Because he harbors a mutation of sorts that places him within our ranks on the basis of some kind of technicality? For I have erased my way through entire empires, outwitting even the most formidable of enemies that would go and put this Saiyan to shame, and yet somehow I am now forced to just go and simply accept him as my equal? No, I don't think so. And since that's the case," Ricardi went on to then continue, "then I'll go on to make sure that he remembers his place, and I'll do so by using every trick within my arsenal until he is begging for me to go and stop. And so I'll be damned if I go and let this inexperienced flea bag go and tell me what to do or lord my authority over, whether he was accepted by the powers that be that govern over this realm or not." With Elder Multis Prime having to then address Vegeta and Beerus by responding, "But be that as it may, with all things considered here, Vegeta, do not go and let this moment of acceptance deceive you into thinking that your trials here are over," Multis Prime continues, "because now that you have proven to be worthy and coexisting alongside us within the realm of the gods," Multis Prime adds, "as both yourself along with Beerus will go and follow me back into the training chambers where I had found you, because not only will this omniversal training of yours that Beerus here had placed you under continue in having me go and see as to what you can truly do when facing off against Beerus' system of destroyers in battle once again, but I also hereby now instruct for you to also join in, as you will be facing off against our mortal friend here in battle as well, Ricardi, so that way we may go and test the full extent of what this mortal is truly capable of," Multis Prime continues, "and so do be sure to understand as to why you are being called into action here against Beerus' successor, Ricardi, as I will personally go and see to it myself that you are to go and take the Saiyan's place as next in line to rule over Beerus' universe should he retire or decide to go and walk away, but only if you are shown in having to be able to go and best him, since you have always been asking to go and take Beerus' place as God of Destruction within Universe 7, and so now you will, such is the case of course, if you are able to go and defeat him, that is," as Vegeta went on to then address Ricardi directly by then responding, Well, so it looks as though I will finally be able to go and get my hands on you after all, and I must honestly say," Vegeta continues, "that even though I find the idea of having you train alongside with me to be just as annoying as it was with what it was that you had mentioned to me just a few moments ago, but I just want for you to know that I am going to thoroughly enjoy this far more than you can possibly hope to imagine, you little furball," Vegeta says, "and now that I have been elevated beyond your wildest nightmares as an accepted member of your destroyer ranks," Vegeta adds, "just you wait until you and I go and get up close and personal, God of Destruction, then I promise you that you will fully understand." With Ricardi responding, "Is that so? Well then I hope for your sake that you are able to go and back this up the very second that Multis Prime declares for us to go and begin," Ricardi says, "because if you are under the impression that you are truly ready for my style of combat during this training of yours that Beerus wants for you to go and undertake, then I just want for you to know that you are in for a world of pain beyond your wildest imagination, Vegeta." With Multis Prime having to then respond, "That's enough, Ricardi, for you will go and be given your chance to brawl with the Saiyan when you are given the orders to go and do so, but in the meantime," Multis Prime says, "I instruct for you to go and listen to every command that is given on to you by me if Beerus hadn't already done so before I did," Multis says, "for you are to go and do as you are told no matter how severe the situation becomes, as obedience is the force that tempers true gods from reckless ones, which there are many of in fact, and so because of this you are to go and harness and sustain your strongest level of destructive power no matter the strenuous burden that it carries or imposes on your body over the long duration or in the fury of combat against Beerus' system of gods of destruction, for your destructive endurance will go and be tested beyond anything that you have ever experienced with Beerus before in having to go and drag you into the very pits of the abyss that you actually fear within this realm, as well as having it challenge your very soul in ways that you have never witnessed or power had been challenged in ways that you had faced before, but so as long as your focus remains locked on your destructive evolution during your training Multis Prime continues, then you will go on to emerge anew within the 2-month time span that you have, a Saiyan God reborn from within the voids, for the battles that await you will either forge your lasting legacy or consume you entirely as it destroys you from within, as it was only right then and there now during that moment where the Beyond Dragon Ball Super Legacy of the Omniverse, the official top 5 strongest warriors in the multiverse sequel, manga chapter number 26 special, then comes to a close.
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and take it from here, as I do want to go as far as to address something very important with our dear viewers at the moment. As before I go and give you the following information, if you aren't already a member of Unreal's Patreon community, then you are truly missing out on so much without you even knowing, because not only is the next episode already on the page, but if you want to support all of the manga content that you see and gain access to tons of exclusives along the way that range from a variety of different things, then we do encourage for you all to become members of our Patreon community today, for we will link everything down within the description box below and pinned comment section as well. Now I will go as far as to say that although I am extremely proud to see the realm of the gods finally accept Vegeta as one of their own and officially crowning him God of Destruction status, I am curious to see on just how far both Lord Beerus and Lord Multis Prime are willing to push Vegeta during his 3rd and final Omniversal training stage, because with the way Piccolo is also seen in training both Trunks and Goten on the Supreme Kai homeworld, I can't help but begin to wonder on just how far everyone is willing to take themselves in preparing before the Omniversal tournament begins, and because of this, you do not want to go and miss out on what is about to happen coming up next. So we hope that you all enjoyed today's video. And before you leave, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up by smashing that like button on your way out, as well as also subscribing to UnrealEntGaming's channel for tons of new Dragon Ball content. So with that, we thank you all so much for watching, as we'll be seeing you all again for the next one.
Now, I know it might be weird, maybe even a little bit sus, but just trust me, okay? Just shove it in your mouth, Catman.
Say what now? I will do no such thing, Talking Bugman, but what I will do is encourage you all to subscribe to UnrealEntGaming for the latest Dragon Ball content. And while you're at it, make sure to like the video. Also, don't forget to become a member of UnrealEntGaming's Patreon community for more exclusive content, early access, and much, much more. Do it now, or I'll destroy your planet, along with every taco.
Hey, don't just waste the goddamn thing. Pass it here.